Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we take a stack of really fascinating sources, pull out the key insights, and, well, basically give you a shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we're embarking on quite a journey, a deep dive into a collection of nonfiction books. These aren't just stories. They're books that genuinely change how you see the world. We're actually following the Telegraph's ranking here, their definitive list of the best nonfiction ever written. We'll be counting down their top 10. Our mission, really, is to pull out the core ideas, maybe some surprising facts, and definitely the lasting impact of these game changers to understand how they gave us new ways to think.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating, I think, is how varied these books are. You've got personal diaries, scientific accounts, but they all share this quality. They stick with you. They give you those real aha moments, a genuinely new lens to view yourself and, well, everything around you.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Let's get into it and unpack some truly transformative reading. We're going to kick off with a voice that just echoes through generations. The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank.
Right. And this is so much more than just like a historical document. It's incredibly intimate. It's a teenager writing about her life under, unimaginable circumstances. She writes about crushes, family arguments, wanting freedom, wanting a future, all the normal teenage things.
Yeah.
But she's doing it while hiding from the Nazis. We, the readers, know the tragic fate waiting for her. That tension is just incredibly powerful.
And the abrupt ending, it's haunting, isn't it? It gives a voice to literally millions who were silenced.
Exactly.
What do you think makes it so essential, so unforgettable even now?
I think it's that contrast, definitely, and just the raw humanity of it. Anne's voice, it lets you connect with this immense tragedy, the Holocaust, on such a personal level. It makes the abstract horror real, relatable, and that's profoundly moving.
From that raw intimacy, then, we shift gears quite a bit. We go to a book that really defined a genre, Truman Capote's In Cold Blood.
Oh, yeah. This is where Capote basically invented narrative nonfiction as we sort of know it today. He didn't just report on the Clutter family murders. He used the techniques of a novelist, character development, pacing, emotional depth. He spent years down in Kansas immersing himself, talking to everyone, the townspeople, the investigators, even the killers themselves.
Right, so he wasn't just reporting facts, he was crafting a narrative, almost like a novel, but true.
Precisely. Building this incredibly detailed psychological story from real events.
The result is this chilling psychological portrait of both the victims and the murderers. It absolutely set a new standard for that kind of storytelling, didn't it?
It really did. Though, there was some debate about it.
Ah, like what?
Well, his closeness to the killers, especially Perry Smith. Some critics questioned if his, let's say, artistic ambition maybe blurred the lines of journalistic objectivity a bit, how he portrayed their psychology.
Ah, okay, the ethics of it.
Exactly. But regardless of those debates, its impact on nonfiction storytelling was undeniable, absolutely huge.
Okay, next up, prepare to have your whole understanding of life well challenged. Richard Dawkins' The Selfish Gene.
Yeah, this one's a big one. Dawkins argues pretty radically that we, organisms, people, animals, we're essentially just survival machines for our genes, our bodies. They're just temporary vehicles. Their main job is just to help these selfish molecules, the genes, replicate and survive. So the focus shifts, away from the survival of the individual or even the species to the gene itself.
Wow. Just that core idea is a lot to take in. It kind of flips our usual view of purpose upside down, but then he introduces the meme. That's another huge concept from this book, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this is where it gets really interesting for culture. Dawkins coined meme, not the internet pictures, but the original idea. It's a unit of cultural transmission. An idea, a behavior, a style, a tune, anything that spreads from person to person within a culture.
Like a gene, but for ideas.
Exactly like a gene, spreading through imitation, learning, competing for attention in our minds, replicating, evolving. Think catchy songs, fashion trends, beliefs.
Okay, so that was a completely new way of thinking about how ideas spread, applying evolution to culture itself.
Totally groundbreaking at the time. You really don't look at nature or culture or even yourself the same way after reading it.
All right, next, a foundational text, something that fundamentally redefined how we think about gender and society. Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex.
De Beauvoir's famous line, "One is not born, but rather becomes a woman." It's incredibly powerful. She basically argues that gender isn't just biology, it's largely a social construct. She digs deep into how society, history, culture, all these things shape women's lives, often limiting their freedom, their potential, how they even see themselves. It was a massive intellectual undertaking.
And published back in 1949. Apparently, it was quite scandalous then, but obviously transformative. It's described as dense, passionate, a real workout. How did it manage to connect so deeply? To give language to things women maybe hadn't been able to articulate before?
Well, it provided this rigorous framework, philosophical, sociological. Suddenly, women reading it had the intellectual tools, the vocabulary, to understand and name this, like pervasive dissatisfaction many felt, but couldn't quite pin down. It wasn't just talk. It laid the intellectual groundwork for what became second-wave feminism. It gave millions the theory, the foundation to push for real change. Essential reading, really.
Okay, time to switch gears again. Let's blast off with Tom Wolfe's high-octane look at American heroism, The Right Stuff.
Ah, Wolf again. And his new journalism style is on full display here. He dives into the world of the Mercury 7 astronauts and the test pilots who came before them, these icons of American heroism. But he goes beneath the surface,
Yeah.
beyond the glossy image. He gets into the real courage, yes, but also the swagger, the competitiveness, the sheer nerve of these guys. And he draws this brilliant contrast between the astronauts and figures like Chuck Yeager, the test pilot, who kind of embodied this almost mystical quality, the right stuff.
Yeah. The writing itself is just electric, isn't it? So immersive. Wolfe makes complex engineering sound as thrilling as the human drama.
Absolutely. It's got this incredible energy.
It feels like more than just history, though. It's almost like
Yeah.
a modern myth. How does it tap into that idea of American identity?
That's a great way to put it. It really explores how a nation creates its heroes. Wolf captures these real, flawed, ambitious men and elevates their story, especially during the Cold War, the space race. It shows how courage, risk-taking, that ambition became tied up with the whole American spirit. It's a fantastic snapshot of that time and mindset, a real thrill ride to read.
Okay, our next book takes us into another kind of high-stakes environment, the world of scientific discovery, James D. Watson's The Double Helix.
Yes, and Watson's account of discovering DNA's structure, it reads almost like a thriller novel. He and Francis Crick were in this desperate race, they had to solve the puzzle before rivals like Linus Pauling did. And the book is incredibly candid. It's gossipy, it's funny, sometimes brutally honest about the egos, the competition, the ambition driving the science.
It sounds like it really pulls back the curtain on how science actually happens, not just the neat, clean discovery myth.
Exactly. It shows the messy human side of it all.
But there was controversy, too, wasn't there? Specifically about his portrayal of Rosalind Franklin.
Ah, yes. That's a really crucial part of the book's story. Watson's portrayal of Franklin, whose X-ray images were vital to the discovery, was, well, widely seen as dismissive and sexist. Her contributions were seriously downplayed in his narrative.
So how did that affect the book's legacy? It revealed this massive breakthrough, but with this significant flaw.
It generated a lot of debate, for sure. It really highlighted the sexism prevalent in science at that time. And it forced a reevaluation of Franklin's role. So while the book is landmarked for its insider view, it comes with that major asterisk. It's essential reading, maybe, but warts and all, as they say. It shows science as a human and sometimes flawed endeavor.
Right. Okay, brace yourself for another book that absolutely sparked a revolution, particularly for American women, Betty Friedan's The Feminine Mystique.
Friedan identified and gave a name to the problem that has no name. This deep, unspoken dissatisfaction felt by so many suburban housewives in the 50s and early 60s. She argued powerfully that this ideal of the happy housewife is basically a myth, a cultural straitjacket that stifled women's intelligence, their ambitions, their potential for fulfillment outside the home.
And the reaction was just immediate, wasn't it? Women everywhere read it and thought, yes, that's me, that's how I feel.
Absolutely. It resonated incredibly deeply. It was like she'd finally articulated something millions felt but couldn't express.
So beyond just igniting second-wave feminism in the U.S., what were some of the more maybe tangible impacts? Did it lead to real-world changes?
Oh, definitely. On an individual level, it empowered countless women to go back to school, to pursue careers, to demand more from their lives than just domesticity. And collectively, it fueled the movement that pushed for legislative changes, equal pay, reproductive rights, anti-discrimination laws. It profoundly challenged the norms that had kept women confined, reshaping family life, work life, American society, really. A massively transformative book.
Okay, from that kind of personal and social discontent, we move to something truly harrowing. Societal oppression on an almost unimaginable scale. Alexander Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago.
Yes, this is monumental. Solzhenitsyn was a prisoner in the Gulag system himself for, I think, nearly 9 years. And he secretly, courageously compiled this history based on his own experiences and hundreds, maybe thousands, of testimonies from other survivors. It meticulously documents the entire Soviet system of forced labor camps, the arbitrary arrests, the interrogations, the torture, starvation, the sheer scale of death. That's an absolutely devastating indictment.
The courage it must have taken to live through that and then to piece together the secret history, knowing the risks.
Incredible courage.
What happened when it finally got out? What was the impact in the West, and what did it cost him personally?
When it was published in the West, it just shattered any lingering illusions people might have had about the Soviet regime. It exposed the horrific human cost.
Mm.
And the cost to Solzhenitsyn, immediate. He was arrested, stripped of his citizenship, exiled. A huge personal price.
Wow.
But the book itself stands as this incredible monument, a testament to the victims, a powerful act of witness. It showed how truth, even whispered truth, could challenge a totalitarian state. It genuinely changed the world's understanding.
A profound act of moral courage indeed. Next, we turn to a much more personal but no less powerful journey. Joan Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking.
Ah, Didion. This memoir starts with this double blow of sudden loss, her husband's death at the dinner table, and her daughter falling critically ill at the same time. And she explores what she calls magical thinking, that irrational state grief throws you into, where you replay moments, look for signs, cling to impossible hopes. Your mind just refuses to accept the reality of the loss. She dissects her own mind, her own grief, with this incredibly cool, precise prose. It's quite stunning, actually.
It sounds like she doesn't offer easy answers or comfort in the usual sense, more like raw honesty.
Exactly. There are no platitudes here. She uses literature, medical science, her own sharp observations to try and make sense of something utterly senseless.
So how does that provide comfort if it's so unflinching?
I think the comfort comes from the recognition. She articulates the sheer madness of grief, the way it warps your thinking, with such clarity. For anyone who's been through profound loss, reading it can feel like someone finally understands. It offers companionship in that disorientation. Not easy fixes. Devastating, yes, but also beautiful and deeply true. A lifeline for many.
Right. Okay, finally, we wrap up our top 10 with another Tom Wolfe classic, a wild ride into cultural revolution, the electric Kool-Aid acid tests.
Wolf's again. And here, his new journalism style just explodes. He immerses himself and us in the world of Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters. We're basically on the bus with them, this psychedelic bus called Further, traveling across America in the mid-60s. Wolfe captures all the chaos, the energy, the drugs, the search for enlightenment, the sheer weirdness of the counterculture as it was happening, all with his dazzling, almost hallucinatory prose.
It sounds absolutely mind-bending, and I imagine probably hilarious and maybe a bit scary, too.
Oh, all of the above. It's a whirlwind.
How does that immersive style make it so essential for understanding that whole 60s counterculture moment?
Because he doesn't just describe it from the outside. He throws you right into it. You feel the energy, the confusion, the excitement, the idealism, even the eventual burnout. He uses sensory details, stream of consciousness, all sorts of experimental techniques to capture the feeling of that time. It's like a time capsule, but one that vibrates with life. An absolutely essential book for understanding that cultural shift. Wow. What an incredible journey through these 10 books. Each one so different, yet all of them transformative. From hidden diaries, true crime that reads like fiction, scientific revolutions, feminist awakenings, harrowing testimonies, personal grief, counterculture explosions. Just amazing breadth.
It really is. And if you try to, connect the dots, you see how each one, in its own way, gave people language or a new framework, tools to understand experiences that maybe didn't have names before, or ways to see the world, society, science themselves from a totally new angle. They didn't just report on the world. They kind of equipped you to engage with it differently. So thinking about all these game changers, what do you think is the common thread? What's the secret ingredient, that right stuff maybe, that makes a nonfiction book truly stick with you, truly change how you think? And for you listening, which of these deep dives resonated most with you today? What was it about that particular story or idea that grabbed you? Something to mull over. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into some truly incredible source material. We look forward to exploring more with you again soon.